Great. So just for those that are listening, this is the meeting that is on Wednesday, September 2nd. So again, I'm going to go over first. I would really love to talk about permission forms and just go over the basics of those and the whys and just the changes first. And then we'll talk a little about COVID. That will continue to be fluid just because we get a lot of the information from our national organization, but I want to talk through that with you and answer some questions if you have them. And then we'll open it up to talk about barriers or fears or expectations for the year, so that if there's things that we as a council staff can help with, we want to do that. So first, and hopefully everyone got it in their email, I went ahead and sent you all the documentation that is new this year. First things first, we do have a Troop Leader's Guide to Permission Forms. Just because it was so different, we wanted to give a little more explanation and just a resource, a place where you could go, hopefully to answer a lot of questions about the changes. I will let you know, nationally, GSUSA does our volunteer essentials that you see on our resources page, as well as our safety activity checkpoints. So those aren't updated yet for the new year because GSUSA sends that to us, and then we input any information that is on a local level. But I do anticipate that that would be out next week. That is our goal of anything coming down the pipe from GSUSA, so that you guys have that for the beginning of the year and they coincide with any changes that we have in permission forms. So the biggest thing I've heard for a while now, and we've been working on it for a while, is the permission form and always having to constantly get permission to do really anything within Girl Scouts. And over the last year, we really talked to a lot of other councils of what they did and best practices. We've met with our risk management committee to talk through this and how we can proceed forward, just to really make it simplified for our volunteers, so that they're not running ragged all the time trying to get an event permission form, or we're going on a hike at a different time, so we need a permission form this. So what we did was, with the annual permission form, we made it for the entire year. So this will be good starting October 1st, 2020, and will run through September 30th, 2021. So, you know, your typical troop activities, it's going to cover that, as long as they're approved Girl Scout activities. They're not some kind of rogue, crazy, unsafe thing. But it's really going to just cover those normal things, so that you're not constantly having to get parent signatures. Parents are signing off that their girl is going to do Girl Scouts. And they are going to be included in, whether it's a money earning activity, an activity that's outside your normal troop meeting time. Maybe you're going to see a community partner. Maybe because of COVID, you're constantly changing your location of troop meeting based on the weather. You don't have to get a new permission for that. It covers all those different things. Now, I would still recommend that you continue to keep your families alerted of what you're doing, as you would always do anyway, just so they know the whens, the whys, and the hows. And I think that's a normal thing that most troop leaders are always going to do. But the things that we talked about that may need an additional parent okay, or just some additional information or waivers for you as a volunteer and for the council too. So those things that will not be covered on the annual permission form are the overnights. So 1 night or more overnight, mainly because it's an additional risk, and we want to get the most updated information about emergency contacts and all those different things that go into taking girls on an overnight. So there is a new form for overnights in there, and it really kind of goes through some of the expectations of what it means to go on an overnight with you as a volunteer, you know, following code of conduct, understanding that as a volunteer, you're not responsible for those girls' items and the loss of any valuables, and just making sure that parents understand the expectations of traveling. And then any council-sponsored events, we will always have a separate permission form for that, just because we keep those on file ourselves. And we want to have that extra, the emergency contacts and all that stuff. And then as a leader, you don't have to specifically worry about that. And then, because most of our council events are family focused and families can attend together. Day camps and resident camps, we will have separate permission forms for that, because day camps, they all operate in different ways, and they may have different questions that they want or different information that they want than just the annual permission form. They may also be doing additional activities that require other permissions or other waivers from other organizations. So we wanted to keep that separate as well. The cookie program will continue to have a separate permission form. We continue to ask GSUSA for that cookie permission to be on the annual membership registration. They are still dragging their feet on that, but that's our ultimate goal, is when you sign up as a member at the beginning of the year, you give your permission to participate in the cookie program. The reason that we still have to have it separate, since it's not on registration, is really for collection purposes, because if we don't have a separate permission form or permission for that, a parent, a family member can say that we never gave consent to take all these cookies, or we never gave consent to give back the money, or all kinds of things. So it's just important that we have some kind of separate form for cookies because of the money aspect. And then this was something that was requested as well, which is the sensitive issues. A lot of times we may have to have discussions with our girls because it's something that they want to talk about, whether it's part of a service project they want to do, or there are kids at school that are having issues, whether it's suicide or different things like that, that we don't want that liability on the volunteer if that discussion comes up or the girls are wanting to talk about that. So there's a separate form that you can send home to the families just to say, this is something that our girls are wanting to discuss. Do you give permission that we talk about it? This is the details within that. So those are the big changes within our forms and permissions. So I'm just going to open it up. Do I have any questions or concerns, or hey, we forgot this? Trudy, do you have one? No, you're not on mute. I'm sorry. I was looking at your other computer. Any questions at all? You can put it in the chat log too, and I will see it. Feedback wise, do you guys like these changes? Is it something, okay, hold on, Kathy. Let me pull that up. It flew away whenever I did it. So event permission forms. So if you're asking, like, if you as a troop go out and do an activity or a field trip, no, it will be included on the annual permission form. But I still recommend that, obviously, like you would normally do, is give your families all the information, the costs, where to go, what to do, expectations, what to wear, all those kind of things. But it will be included because it is an approved Girl Scout activity for the year. You will still want to follow safety activity checkpoint guidelines. So if an activity is high risk and we need a safety activity, an application for that, you need to fill that out because that helps our council know where you're at and what you're doing, and make sure you have all the insurance you need on it, certificates of insurance for the places, things like that. Any other questions about permissions? All right. Thank you, Shelly. I'm glad. It is hard. I was saying to Mandy earlier, that I actually am a troop leader this year. My daughter's troop leader stepped down, and I am the new troop leader. So I'll get a definite face-to-face experience of what it means to be a troop leader and be right there in the mud with you all for sure. And then for overnights, there is a specific one night or more, there is a permission form for overnights. And that is one that I sent with you. So if you are staying one night or more, it looks like this. It's for overnights and extended trips. And just remember, any kind of additional paperwork that's always required by the council, you'll still want to do that. That will be in safety activity checkpoints to remind you of those forms and paperwork. And that is really just to help protect you as well, to make sure all that insurance is taken care of, to make sure it's a safe space for you to go, and that if there was an incident, that we can help because we know where you're at. We can take care of that for you. Something else too that you'll notice when you look at the permission forms, last year we added a hold harmless agreement which was a recommendation of our risk management committee. Those will be on all the forms that we fill out this year. It's really just a safeguard, not only for the council and our board of directors, but also for you as a volunteer, because we, today's society, there's a lot of people that like to sue people, and we don't want to put our volunteers in a space where they could be sued for something that is a typical Girl Scout activity or incident or accident. Just because they have a hold harmless agreement does not mean that the Girl Scout supplemental insurance does not qualify. That will still be in place. That doesn't change that at all, but it's really just an extra arm of risk management for us. The other new thing with the permission form that goes along with the things that we're going to talk about next with COVID, GSUSA has requested that all councils provide a COVID assumption of risk and waiver this year that everyone will need to complete. That really shows and understands that we are in the time of COVID and that there is a risk on any kind of group activity that you are going to do or participate in. So this is literally mandated by our national organization, and we will follow those expectations. The waiver and liability release that we have is for a minor and an adult or both. So if you have a child in the program, you can fill this out for you and that child as well. So if you have a parent that volunteers a lot and that's going to be in the space with you, they can both be on the same waiver for COVID. So my suggestion would be at the beginning of the year, when you're already having them fill out that annual permission form, just stick the COVID waiver on there as well. Let's see, I'll pull out the annual. So the annual this time looks like this. It will say in the front what to do, what it doesn't cover. So the parents and you as a troop leader know that. And then it'll have all the same information that we ask every year. And on the third page is the hold harmless agreement. So I would just put all this together when you give them that parent pack of everything that you want them to fill out. That'll all be together. That COVID waiver will be really, really important for you as you move forward in case there is an incident with a COVID outbreak or anything like that. Your parents already signed off. They understand the risk. Do I have any questions about the COVID waiver? Okay. So I'm going to move forward then with COVID in general. And I just want to thank everybody. I know that it's been constant changes. I mean, we just sit here and our word this year is fluid, because it's just anytime we'll put out a document, there's another change from GSUSA. So we're just trying to be really fluid with this, and that we just ask that, everyone that's participating understand that there are going to be changes because this virus is changing all the time. And so we'll continue to make updates in a timely manner for you. And I don't want you to feel stressed or like, I didn't do that at my last meeting, I just found out now. It's okay. You just go forward. If there's a change, make sure you're checking on My Honor, you're checking the emails from your troop support. We will continue to post those on our website and just try to keep you in the know as much as possible throughout the year with any changes. It's good. So Kathy asked, do those outside of the troop sign COVID waiver like a guest speaker? If your guest speaker is coming to your meeting, that's actually up to you if you want a safety net. I think that you need to put, and we'll talk about this in a second, there's a checklist that we recommend if you'd like to use it, and we'll talk through how you can use that. The more safeguards you can put in place, the better. But if you're going to, let's say you sign up for a community partner activity and it's at the museum, I wouldn't worry about a COVID waiver for that. But if you have adults that are consistently working with your girls in a space where you can't specifically social distance, even if you are outside, I have them sign that waiver. Same with, I know Trudy, you're going to be hopefully running a day camp. And if we're still in COVID, make sure everybody has one on file for that. Even if you want to do it again, just for day camp, we can work with the day camps to put COVID, language in those permissions. It's just going to be an ongoing thing until we don't need it anymore. Does that answer that question somewhat, Kathy? Okay, great. So with COVID recommendations and guidance, we do have a packet that goes along with that. And we did, input some links. So if there are suggestions or CDC advice, those links are right there in the packet that you can go straight to there, because I know there's still a ton of questions about a lot of it because it's ever changing. So we'll continue to update this. So anytime there is an update from GSUSA, we will add it into this back to troop COVID recommendations. We will continue to just keep that updated, and we'll alert you if there is an update. But some highlights that I just want to focus on, and then I'll open it up for any kind of questions. Obviously, our chart and our expectations won't change until our community is in the last stage of their plan. And so we're not in that yet. I know our governor extended it a little longer. So when we get into that last stage, that's when more things will open up per GSUSA. So we have to be in that last stage before we change. So all of the things that came out in July, all of the restrictions are still the same. We're still recommending that if you're meeting or you're doing activities, it's in groups of 25 or less, just to keep it maintainable. We also recommend breaking up into groups of 10 still, patrols or whatever, keeping those 10 girls together if you're in a close space or doing activities together. Just because we do allow in-person events doesn't mean you have to. You can still do a virtual capacity if that's what you and your parents and your families and your girls decide that's what you want to do. That is completely fine. You can also offer a combination of that. You can do some in-person activities and you can do some virtual. It's really up to you as a leader. I would recommend that you have a parent meeting and you talk about the fears of your families and what they want and what the girls want before you make your year plan, and just go from that and remind them that it's just going to have to be flexible. We are still going to have a lot of fun and we're going to do a lot of cool stuff, but we just may have to do it in a different way this year. And that's okay, because that's what Girl Scouts do, right? I mean, we're constantly teaching them to be strong and brave and have the skills to get through hard situations. And so this is a great opportunity for us all to learn through it, as I am doing every day here, trying to figure this out. Also, it's just going to continue to remind us is if you can meet outdoors, that's the great thing that you can do, is to try, especially if the weather's nice. We live in Indiana, so you never know. But if you can go outside, go outside. That's a great opportunity for girls to be active because they don't get a lot of that right now in general at school. So if you can do that, great. Another thing that they're suggesting from GSUSA is how you're going to do your checks for COVID symptoms, for temperatures, things like that. So we do have a COVID checklist that you may use. It's at your discretion as a troop leader at this point. If you want to implement where every troop meeting that you're together or activity that the parents fill that out beforehand and sign off that my daughter does not have any symptoms and she hasn't been out of the country and her temperature has been checked before she walked into this site that we're meeting at, you can do that. Or if you feel more comfortable putting that expectation on the parents. I know a lot of schools are doing that now where it's on the parents or the guardians to say, I understand the symptoms of COVID. I understand if my child has a temperature that she is not coming to an in-person meeting, and I will alert the troop leader of that. So those are things that at this moment, we can make decisions of what you're more comfortable with. If you don't know the answer, I would just do the strictest thing. If you're like, I don't know what the right answer would be, then just do the strictest thing so you feel like you're covered. But we also don't want to make it so hard for every activity that you do that a parent's filling out a checklist. That's a lot. That's a lot. I will let you know, we just had our mud run last week, and we did the checklist. We made every participant fill it out before they registered that day there, in person, on site. They had to take their temperature and then they were released to go to the starting line. And we didn't have a problem with it. Some people had some questions, but other than that, nobody was negative or anything like that. They filled it out and went on their way. So I think a lot of people understand that this is the circumstance we're in and we all need to be respectful and care about other people as well. So it kind of goes through just each thing: troop meeting spaces, what do I need to know about how to pick my space? What do I need to be responsible for? Questions that you can ask if you're utilizing, let's say, a church facility. What do you ask the church about the space? Do they clean prior to when we get there? Do I clean after? Do they clean after? Just normal things like that that you can ask to make sure you're in the safest spot possible for your girls. And then we go into a lot of people, there's not a lot of spaces available. I don't even have a troop meeting space right now. We're meeting in a park. So a lot of places and people have asked if they can meet in homes. We are doing it a case-by-case basis. So if that's something that you're interested in, whether it's maybe a parent has a really great backyard and they're willing to let you do that. Maybe they have a heated pole barn and they're like, let's use that. So there are options, and we will certainly work with you because we understand there are a lot of restrictions right now. You just have to remember that if you do meet in a home, that puts a lot of liability and risk on that homeowner. Not only with COVID, we don't want that home to get the virus because everybody's there and then their whole family gets it. But there are risks and liabilities to a home meeting space. And it goes through all those thoughts of when we do allow it, these are the questions that we're going to be asking and expectations that we're going to have. But we understand there's just not a lot of options right now. We want you to have a place that you feel comfortable and safe for the girls to continue to interact. Something else is carpooling. GSUSA really recommends a zero transportation policy, having your families pick up and drop off their girls and not, you know, if you're going to an event, you all don't meet up at the troop meeting space and then as a troop leader, you take all of them. They do not recommend that right now. We have some outstanding circumstances that we've said, you know what, as long as that family and you as a troop leader are okay to take that risk, I would suggest that you put masks on and sit them in different rows of the vehicle if that's a possibility. Some of these you'll just have to take and say, am I willing to take that risk? Is the parent approving of this risk? And you just use your best judgment. We are here to answer questions if you have specific questions, but you can also let your parents know GSUSA and GSSI has a zero transportation policy right now, if that makes you feel more comfortable, because that is true. I'll get back into this, but Zoom licenses, if you are interested in a Zoom license for your troop, GSUSA is working on a really cool deal with Zoom right now. If you're wanting to go that virtual route, we will be giving you more information about that, but they have really done a great job at talking down the cost of Zoom per year. It's $36 for the whole year for a Zoom account. And that Zoom account does not have restrictions. So you can have more than an hour meeting. You have all the bells and whistles that go along with the Zoom and things like that. And with the zero transportation policy, no, Kathy, you didn't miss it. That's actually in the Back to Troop COVID recommendations and guidance packet. That is something new from GSUSA. So that is in that updated guide that I'm talking through right now. You didn't miss it before. We just got a new updates from GSUSA yesterday too. So I don't think there's any major changes. There's just some additions of thoughts, especially when it comes to camp. That was new from GSUSA yesterday. And I'm sure we'll get some next week as well. And we will just continue to update. Don't panic if you didn't know it or you didn't see it. It's okay, just moving forward. Try your best to do what the recommendations and the guidance in the guide say. Just as also another reminder, no overnights right now, girls, until we get in that final stage. GSUSA is not allowing that. They've actually canceled all their destinations and trips that girls had planned. So no overnights with girls. They are allowing, if you wanted to do a family overnight with every family having their own tent or space, they are saying that's okay, but that's still a risk. I don't know if I would take right now. I would probably just plan some day activities and things like that. Also, in this guide, you're going to see, you know, what to do, why. We typically do a friendship circle. Now, what do we do instead? You know, just eliminate the close contact. They even suggest eliminate if you sing a song, don't sing that. which is kind of sad. But I mean, you can do it, just don't start facing each other in a circle, those kind of things. And that's okay, Shelly. This is recorded, so I'll send this out to everybody. Everybody will have this on both of the meetings that we have, okay? Something else that we're doing, that we're trying to do, I've asked a lot of donors right now, and we can talk through this at the end too, for money to cover leader kits that leaders would get with COVID supplies, masks, gloves, cleaning supplies, wipes, thermometers, all those kind of things. So that is something as a council that we are trying to do to make sure that every leader has the resources and they're not pulling from cookie money and program money and their own pockets to do that. So that is something in the works. We are trying very hard to get some sponsors and programs for that, so that leaders have those supplies that they recommend in these guides as well. And then just as a reminder, continue to wear those face coverings when you cannot social distance. That's why they really recommend outdoors, so that those girls can have a little more freedom. I know our first troop meeting is next Wednesday with my troop, and we're meeting outside. I've asked all the girls just to bring a pop-up chair, and we are going to spread out and just enjoy the outside. Hopefully it won't rain, that they don't have to wear their masks. Girls can continue to wear them if that's what they feel comfortable with. And it's also up to you as a leader, what you expect of your group and how you maintain your safety as well. Another big thing to remember, because we don't want this on your shoulders, if you have, let's say, a positive case in your troop, or someone arrives with a fever, it really goes through everything to do and what you should do as a leader. But if you have a COVID case or something like that, you need to contact us, contact support at girlscouts-gssi.org, call us. We will take care of all the rest of it for you. We will make sure the families are contacted, and all the expectations of not saying names and different things like that, we will take care of that, and we will work with the health department on that as well. We don't want you to have to do that. We will do that for you. Trying to think if there's any other things that just kind of come out. Obviously with food and snacks, just remember to be responsible. I wouldn't suggest allowing families to make snacks and bring them. You really want individually packaged snacks. The easiest thing right now is just to have their families pack their own snacks. If you meet at a time that girls are going to be hungry, just say, bring a snack and bring a water bottle, those kind of things. That's an easy thing to do with that. And then just restrooms, making sure you ask questions about restrooms. You know, are the dispensers something the girls have to touch? Are they things that they just hold their hand under? It's not saying that you can't use those, but use that time to educate the girls of, hey, you know, if we're in a bathroom where we're touching everything, go ahead and grab a paper towel. We don't want to touch the doors. We don't want to touch these things. Use that as a first meeting understanding when you're in your new space of how to use it and how to be safe. And it goes through some of those things that you can do. So I'm going to quit talking. I'm going to open it up. What kind of questions, or was there anything that I missed about COVID recommendations and guidance? And is this helpful, kind of thing? Pretty good so far? Okay. This again is all on the resources tab of our website. So where you would find all your forms, they are in alphabetical order, and they actually go this way to this way instead of down, because I asked, I was like, this doesn't make sense, but they go like this when you're looking at alphabetical order for these forms. They're all in there for you. And then again, we will update volunteer essentials and safety activity checkpoints from GSUSI. And yes, the checklist, you're right, Kathy, is nice to have. And it's good because it reminds you of what you're looking for, of what the symptoms are. And for girls and parents to say, you know, yeah, that's a problem. We need to go out of the state, or we went out of town, or we went, I don't know where anybody's going, but if they are going somewhere. Okay, I'm going to open it up now. If there's no other questions about COVID guidance, what are some things, just whether it's fears, whether it's barriers, things that we can really help with that maybe we didn't know was a problem, or something that's not available and you really like it? I would really love to hear some feedback about that so that we can have it ready, or if we can help, that we can be there for you to support, whether it's, you know, finding spaces that are available and advertising that these are available to troops in these areas. What are some things that you would like? Like I said, we will try to do the kits if that's something that seems helpful to you. We are, like I said, I'm asking all the area donors and community foundations and different things like that to fund those supplies. We have done that. Let's see. Okay. That's a good one, Kathy. We can do that. So Kathy said that she would love to know what the businesses or places that troops could meet or do activities are available right now and have a current certificate of insurance on file with us. All right, so Mandy talked about the Zoom membership. Yep. Something else that we're doing because GSUSA actually hasn't opened up for troop leaders to request Zoom licenses just yet. What they have opened up is for councils to have those Zoom licenses. So what we're doing at this moment is we are getting Zoom licenses for every single service area, at least one right now, so that that service area has a Zoom account that they may use. They don't have to use a council account or, you know, like my personal account. Each service area will have their own for right now in the interim until they open it up to troops. So that is something that we are going to do. So that information will go out based on service area so that you know that you can use that, because I know it's really hard to do a quality meeting with the free Zoom license, and to be on that only that hour, it just gets stressful. So, but we will continue to update you, Mandy, on when that's available for everybody, if that's something you want to take advantage of. And I have asked other donors to pay for more accounts for that $36 for the year. I'm just waiting to hear back. We will obviously let you know as soon as possible if we do get that funding for leader kits. What we're really looking for in that, like I said, is a touchless thermometer for the head, because that's a big expense and those are hard to get a hold of. Wipes, child-size masks, gloves, if there was a case or somebody came and you needed extra protection. Also just cleaning supplies, soap, hand sanitizer, those different things in a kit that a leader would need for their meeting spaces, and so you don't have to pay out of pocket. So as soon as we know anything, definitely let you know. Anything else that you can think of, because I just know it's going to be a different year. Oh, good. Thanks, Trudy. You know, it's just trying to think outside the box all the time and just make this year, even though I know it's going to be really tricky, supporting you as much as possible that we can from a council level is what we want to do. So just if you don't even think of it today, you know, shoot me an email if there's something that you're like, you know what would help, this would help, or do you have any advice on this? Don't hesitate to ask, because if you have that question or you have that need, I would say a lot of other volunteers do as well. I'm trying to think of anything else. I mean, I personally had my parent meeting. It went well. I think a lot of parents, most of their questions were around safety and risk, and how am I as a troop leader going to manage that? So something just to be prepared, to have your plan in place of what you think is best going along with this guidance. And if their parents want some extra bells and whistles that go along with that, talk through that with them and see what is manageable for you. But I also would recommend not taking all this stress on your shoulders. I know a lot of troop leaders have already faced concerns with, I don't know if I clean this well enough. I don't know if we washed our hands enough. I don't want anybody to get COVID here. that, you know, it's a very tricky virus, and right now people can get it anywhere. You just have to do your best, work as hard as you can to follow the guidelines, let us know what help you need, and make sure those girls understand it's their responsibility as well. That's being a good Girl Scout. You know, wearing their mask is being responsible and respectful. Making sure they are distant and keeping that distance is just part of the learning lessons that we teach in Girl Scouts. So they can be responsible for this as well. Don't put it all on your shoulders. And we will be here, especially if there is an incident. We will be here to help you with it. Don't feel like you're going to have to manage this. We will do all of that for you. Something else to remember when it comes to our supplemental insurance, because just as a reminder, as a Girl Scout member, you are covered with supplemental insurance for your Girl Scout activities. If you have something that's longer than 2 nights and 3 days, you have to get additional insurance for that, and we will work with you. But that supplemental insurance doesn't cover illnesses. It would cover more like an accident where I tripped and broke my leg, or things like that. So just something to be aware of as you're looking into the year. If someone did get sick, that supplemental insurance doesn't cover that. It doesn't currently cover illness, if that makes sense. Trying to think, anything else that I didn't cover, or you have a question or a thought or a concern about? We do have an upcoming event at our camp facility, and that will be a really good understanding for us as a council of how larger events are going to go. So I'm sure we'll learn a lot from that. But ultimately what we're going to do, especially if service areas are looking to have events, is big things is stagger times of when people are coming so that you have a small group at different locations throughout your event. Don't have everybody there together. The reason we change locations is because Camp Cook is outside and we can manage it better than a space like the Armory where there's not a lot that we can do. We have all the resources at camp, and we can clean and do the things that we need to do when people use our equipment better. We'll also do the checklist of everybody when they arrive at the event. They will complete a checklist for COVID, and they will have their temperature taken before they can go into any of the activities. And then we will have a continuous cleaning of our bathrooms, continuous cleaning of our spaces that we're using. Anytime that someone uses a bow, it will get cleaned right after. Anytime someone uses a life jacket to go canoeing, it will get cleaned with warm soap and water. Warm water and soap, I said that backward, after each use. So there is a lot to it to do something with a lot of people. So we'll just see how it goes. We have a lot of volunteers that are willing to help and be there. Our mud run went great. We didn't have any problems that I know of within the mud run, and everybody was very good about social distancing and being supportive that we were doing something and that allowed them to be active. So hopefully we can continue to increase those things and those activities. But throughout the year, we will continue to offer just a combination of virtual and in-person opportunities. That's what the council is going to do. So we'll do a fall event, but we're also going to do our virtual cookie kickoff this year. We're going to try a virtual cookie event because that's going to be right in the winter time where we don't even know what it's going to be like. So that's just kind of the goals. We'll do it one step at a time, and we'll see where things take us. But I just really appreciate you. I appreciate your willingness to do this in such a tricky time. But I do firmly believe that girls need us more than ever right now. So I really appreciate you taking on this and doing your best to follow these guidelines. Kathy, cookie question. Yes. So at this moment, we are planning for a typical cookie program, but I will be honest, we are planning for a typical cookie program or just a virtual cookie program. We have several budgets this year for everything that we do. But something new that will come down the pipe for cookies, we're definitely going to make sure that if we do have a virtual program, that we're going to do everything that we can to make it as easy as possible for you. Whether that's, taking credit cards, making sure you can have virtual booths that are advertised, and getting booths, if we are allowed, set up for you, that we will have those, whether it's something that's at our council office, outside of our office, or whatever it needs to be. We will do our best. We are hoping that we don't have to have any worries, and we'll just do it normally. But at this moment, it's really too early to tell. We are planning for every possible option to cookies, and so is GSUSA. Something that will be good for us is we do have a new cookie this year, so that is a very good thing. That will hopefully propel people to continue to buy. And then they did this big study that even during crisis and during a quarantine, people still like to eat snacks. So they will hopefully still buy, and we will do everything in our power to make it as easy as possible for you as a troop leader and for the girls to make that happen, so that you can earn that cookie funding that you need every year. So any other questions within the year or concerns? Well, like I said, please don't hesitate. If there's something that we can help you with, I jotted down, I know that we'll get together a list of places, one that are open and available. I know Kara is working on her program guide. It should be done by next week. And that program guide will have all the opportunities and places that you can go, or virtual experiences that you can go. So Kathy asked if we can have the date added to all online forms like COVID forms and overnight permission, so we know we have the most recent. So Kathy, are you saying in the resources page to put October 1st, 2020 to September 30th, 2021 on all those? Or do you just want a date line added? Okay, yep, got it. All right. Anything else that you can think of that I haven't thought of? No? Okay. Well, I will give you back some of your day. We ended about 10 minutes early. But again, thank you so much. If you have anything that you just want to talk to me specifically about, obviously you have my email address directly. I'm happy to give you a call. We can talk through it. And then you obviously have your troop support too. So thank you. I appreciate everybody. Thank yous. I thank you very much. And hopefully we can do this more throughout the year. I'm always willing to have these just chats, because if I don't know if there's a problem or a concern, we don't know to fix it. So please just keep us in the loop. We'll do everything in our power to make this work for you and to make it as easy as possible. We want you to have a great volunteer experience this year. We want everybody to be safe and healthy. And again, I just appreciate you and all you do for the girls in our community. You're doing great things and making an impact every single day. So thank you, thank you. I will have this recording for all volunteers that are signed up. So we'll get that out after next week's meeting. I will send both of them out, so you'll have the recording of both sessions in case someone else asks a different question that you didn't ask. Does that sound good? All right. Well, thank you all. I hope you have a great rest of the day. I appreciate your participation, and I will hopefully see you in person soon. Thank you so much. I'll go ahead and end the meeting. Have a great week.